This is Pritaelus 84, one of the hardest jumps ever created on Roblox. It combines several complex techniques, including the cylinder lodge, a maneuver where the player must wedge their character between two cylinders, then rotate at just the right angle, and then carefully drop to the next lodge without losing too much height. In February of 2024, a top jumper entered the game just to do some casual attempts, and maybe even snag a completion if things went well. But in one specific run, when he reached the cylinder lodges, this happened. He got flung, and that single 18-second clip would go on to define one of the most unfathomable jumps ever created. A jump so difficult that the odds of actually landing it are estimated at 1 in 1.85 trillion. This is the Roblox jump no one will ever beat. Before we start this video, I'd really appreciate if you could subscribe. Only a small percentage of the people who watch my videos are actually subscribed, and I want to reach 40,000 subscribers by the end of 2025. So if you could hit that red button, it would mean the world to me. Anyway, let's get back into the video. This is Abyssal Chaos, a top jumper and hobbyist who in 2023 set out to create an obby themed like the tale of Icarus in Greek mythology. But to complete the idea, he needed a name for the obby, a name that sounded somewhat Latin, but at the same time, he didn't want it to have any real meaning, and the name he came up with was simple. He called it Los Pritae, a short, difficult obby that ended up only having about 10 jumps. But this was only the beginning. Around the same time, Abyssal Chaos started showing interest in a technique very prominent in the top jumps community: lodges. By squeezing your character between two bricks, you could seemingly defy gravity and float in mid-air. The reason this works is because Roblox torsos are 2 studs wide, and when you encounter 2 walls with a 2-stud gap, your character slips inside. With a slight camera adjustment, the diagonal width of the torso, which is about 2.236 studs, allows you to hang suspended in mid-air. This technique has led to many of the hardest jumps ever created. And so, Abyssal began cataloging dozens of these lodge jumps he'd created, each one slightly different and progressively more difficult. To give his creations a name, he took inspiration from his hobby Los Pritae, changing up some syllables until a new name was created. A name that would later go on to become one of the most iconic series in the top jumps community. The name was Pritaelus. When Abyssal created the Protalis series, he decided each jump would carry a number representing its difficulty, a scale from 1 to 100, where 1 was very simple and 100 approached the very limits of what a top jumps player could achieve. Among these was Pritaelus 84, a jump that ranked in at 8.4 on the top jumps difficulty scale, a system where jumps range from 0.0 to beyond 9.0, with 9.0 marking the threshold of human capability. Pritaelus 84 demands precision and timing. Players have to execute a series of lodges, starting with regular brick lodges before dropping into the far jankier cylinder lodges. In February of 2024, a player named Loaf was casually attempting to jump when suddenly he was flung mid-air while lodging between the cylinders. Confused, he shared the clip in the Top Jumps community Discord server, and upon seeing it, another player, XDIIM, decided to join the game and see if he could replicate this strange glitch. and to his astonishment, he did. Seeing how the fling was surprisingly consistent, Abyssal Chaos got a bold idea: to create a jump so difficult and reliant on luck that no one would ever beat it. A Pritaelus that exceeded even Abyssal Chaos's own difficulty chart. He called it Pritaelus 104. This is the lucky draw. 1 in a trillion, Pritaelus 104. When attempting this jump, skill doesn't matter, because it's all about luck, whether you land it or you don't. Abyssal Chaos had created an actual monster. Pritaelus 104 showcased the upper scale of Pritaeluses, a Protalis that no one will ever beat. Using the cylinder lodge from Protalis 84, Abyssal did some testing after seeing XDIIM do the glitch quite consistently. When trying to recreate it, he realized that the orientation and position of the cylinders mattered in whether or not the lodge would actually fling you. And after only 10 minutes, Abyssal had created the most luck-dependent jump on Roblox. The jump starts off at the top of a massive cylinder pillar on which you'll find the start platform, a small 0.5 stud brick with a head hitter right above you, meaning you need to perform a precise jump to not hit your head. Next, you have to wrap around the massive cylinder and land inside the cylinder lodge. This is where the jump becomes completely dependent on luck. Once you land between the cylinders, you need to quickly turn your camera and perform the lodge. The fling isn't perfectly consistent, but it can still be triggered fairly often, with the odds of it happening being about 1 in 3. That fling is what makes the jump so brutally difficult. And about 1,200 studs away from the cylinder lodge is this. A tiny 0.75 stud landing spot. And just to add on to it, right above it is a huge brick blocking any flings that get the right angle but the wrong height. So if you got flung too high, you'd land on the upper cylinder, which wouldn't count the jump as completed. Meaning, not only do you need to get a fling that gets a perfect horizontal degree angle, which is this, but also for it to give you that same degree angle vertically. That is what makes Pritaelus 104 so difficult. All of these required perfect angles give the jump odds of about 1 in 1.85 trillion. To put into perspective just how insane this is, the jump itself is relatively short, taking only about 5 seconds. But if you were to grind it non-stop until you finally landed it after 1.85 trillion attempts, almost 293,000 years would have passed. When the jump was released on February 24th, 2024, it immediately caught the attention of the Top Jumps community. Many players attempted it, getting a 1,000 Robux bounty placed onto it, but obviously no one even came close. Most Top Jumps at the time had become predictable, full of lodges and repetitive mechanics. But Pritaelus 104 was different. It seemed like a fun fling mechanic to throw some casual attempts at, with a very tiny hope of landing it. That combination alone was enough to draw players in and push them to grind it. And one of those players was Dylan, a skilled top jumper who had built up his reputation in the community. When he saw Pritaelus 104, he decided to give it a few casual attempts while on a call with his friend. He knew the jump was completely luck-based. This was when the cylinder fling mechanic was just discovered, and Dylan wanted to test how it works. by throwing some attempts at a jump that actually uses it, never expecting to actually get close. Then, roughly 45 minutes into the session, this happened. Dylan had almost landed it. If he had, the jump would have claimed top 1 on the list with an 8.92 rating. And remember, the human limit is 8.99. On this attempt, he hit the perfect angle, but was just slightly too high, striking the upper cylinder. After failing, he was surprised, but at the time, he didn't realize just how rare that attempt had been. In fact, that single attempt was roughly 1 in 85 million. He had nailed the horizontal angle perfectly. All he needed was just to be a few studs lower. And since then, no one has gotten closer. After interviewing players in the top jumps community, they had mixed opinions. Abyssal believed someone lucky enough would eventually land it. Dylan understood that it was theoretically possible, but highly doubted it would ever get beaten. And XDIIM just denied the possibility of it getting landed at all. And maybe he's right. Because this is the Roblox jump no one will ever beat.